The Warriors' top dog said they don't want to make a big wild trade and shake up the future of this Golden State team, but don't rule out a trade before February 6th deadline. That's why I'm breaking down the top 3 center trade targets for your Golden State Warriors on today's show. Before we do that, though, what do you guys think? Is Golden State going to make a trade before the February 6th deadline? Let me know in the comment section by typing Y for yes or typing N for no. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith, and on today's show, we're going to break down the top 3 trade targets for your Golden State Warriors at this point in time. Because after the comments that we heard after following the loss to the Toronto Raptors, it didn't give Warriors fans a great peace of mind on whether or not they're actually going to make a trade that improves this roster this season. And, that's disheartening to me because the Golden State Warriors are on a downward spiral right now. You could argue they are at rock bottom, falling below 500 for the first time this year. After starting the season 12-3, they've lost 17 of their last 24 games. That's just simply unacceptable to me as somebody who has been watching this Warriors team and this organization run the way that it has for the better part of a decade. That's unacceptable, man. And they got the 26th ranked offense since December 1st. It's 21st overall, so a bottom 10 offense in a league where you need to get buckets. It's make or miss in today's NBA, and the Warriors, they've been missing a whole heck of a lot. And I mentioned it before. I'll reiterate that Steph, Draymond, Steve Kerr, all apparently are in agreement. Golden State should not make a trade that shakes up the future of this organization, giving away crazy draft capital in favor of preserving the future. That's what they're talking about, preserving the future here. I'm not so sure that there is a future for Golden State without those 3 around. But hey, don't rule out the possibility of the Golden State Warriors making a trade before the deadline. Listen to what Anthony Slater had to say on the current state of the Warriors. He said, I do think Steph's answer was taken too much as like a don't make a trade at all statement. And with you talk to Steve, you talk to other people behind the scenes, they're still going to be active going up until the deadline. They're still going to try to get rotation players, particularly guys who help the offense, which is 21st in the league right now, but they're not going to panic. Interesting. And we've talked about it last week, right? They're not suddenly going to panic today and go today. We need to go get Nikola Vucevic so bad. Here's a first rounder, Chicago. Well, we're going to talk about Nikola Vucevic on today's show. I'm not so sure that a first rounder will be involved. But I don't see why there's no panic coming from this front office, coming from this coaching staff, coming from the top 2 players on your Golden State Warriors. They stink. There isn't. The half-court offense stinks. They don't get out in transition. They don't get to the free throw line. They don't get to the cup to make a bunch of layups. They shoot poorly inside the arc. And they settle for a lot of bad jump shots, and they turn the ball over at a mid clip as well. So they don't take incredible care of the basketball. I don't see why there's no panic here. I mean, Golden State ranks super low in a ton of really, really important metrics, in my opinion. Like when you look at this team, like the offense, it just stinks at the end of the day, and like I'm tired of watching it. Like, you guys agree with me or not? Let me know in the comments section. Offensive rating, 21st in the league. True shooting, 24th in the league. Free throws attempted per game, 27th in the league. Turnover percentage, they're mid. Honestly, pretty bad. First quarter points per game. Remember when Steph said we're not built to withstand big-time comebacks and climb back from large deficits early on in basketball games? Well, they stink in the first quarter. They've been putting themselves in that hole too many times. So Golden State, they need to go out and make improvements to the roster. It's plain and simple. Yeah, maybe this season is lost as far as contending for an NBA championship, but man, like you could still be competitive and make a run in this postseason. You could get to the top 2 seeds in the play-in, or maybe even the 5th or the 6th seed. You're only like 3-4 games out of that spot right now. So, in my opinion, the Warriors, they need a center. Obviously, we know that the front court is slim in Golden State right now, but they also need a center who can score. They need somebody who can fill up the stat sheet and get buckets. And the trade targets and the ideas that I'm about to present to you guys, I don't think they're necessarily panic moves. I think Golden State can afford to give 1 or maybe 2 one at a swap first-round picks away in one of these scenarios. So that's what we're going to do on today's show. There's going to be a trade that doesn't necessarily include a first-round pick, and that's why I kind of like it the most. But before we get into all of that, I want to make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. If the Warriors make a move, you guys are going to hear about it right here on Warriors Today. We'll have you covered with every single trade rumor that goes on around your Golden State Warriors, like the names we're about to mention. But if the Golden State Warriors do decide to make a move, we're going to be first on the news. So subscribe, make sure you are subbed, hit that red sub button, turn your notifications on so you're alerted when we post a video here at Warriors Today. And we'll get on. Let's do it. Trade targets. The first one coming in is Nikola Vucevic. We've talked about the man himself before. However, I do think that this is something the Warriors need to explore further. It's a situation where He could fill up the box score in the scoring department. It's a 20-point per game guy. He's a 10 rebound per game guy. Warriors rebounding ranks are actually very good in the NBA, but I still don't like. I'm not afraid of them on the glass. Like I feel very comfortable going down and grabbing a rebound against whatever Golden State's got down low. So Nikola Vucevic helps in that regard as well. He's got a really good knack and touch around the rim. Like he can be a back to the basket guy. I know Golden State doesn't do that a ton, but like he can be a guy who just fills it up for Golden State. Plus, he shoots 43% from three-point range, guys. Like this is something that we saw a glimpse of it with Quentin Post just a few games ago, but they really don't have this element on the roster right now. Trayce Jackson-Davis does not space the floor. Kevon Looney does not space the floor. Like they need more production, and they can get that from a guy like Nikola Vucevic, who above the break actually shoots even better of a percentage than he does overall. Like he got some misses, got some bad efficiencies in the corners, but very low volume over there. So above the break, where he's taking the majority of his threes, he's 45%. That's unbelievable. That's absolutely knocked down. And you see that I have 61 field goals attempted in the mid-range. Doesn't take that shot a whole heck of a lot, but it is in his arsenal, and he shoots it at a pretty decent clip. And for all these that you're just seeing percentages for in the paint, restricted area, above the break three, he's had more than 160 attempts in those areas during this season. So in my opinion, Nikola Vucevic is definitely a name that Golden State fans should keep their eye on. And Bleacher Report came up with this trade idea for Nikola Vucevic. Here it is. The Warriors get Vooch, and the Bulls would receive Kevon Looney, Kyle Anderson, and it says Kyle Anderson on the screen right now, but they would also receive Gary Payton II. So with that being said, I don't think this is too much for Golden State to give up in this scenario. And I'll make that quick fix right now so you guys can see this all on screen and decide whether or not you guys want to make this trade. Because Nikola Vucevic, man, I really think that he's a great player. And you're not going to get much from him defensively. But, hey, let me know if you guys would accept this trade down in the comments section. Type A for accept, type D for decline on whether or not you would want Nikola Vucevic in town and exchange Kevon Looney, Gary Payton II, and slow-mo Kyle Anderson. I'd absolutely accept this, guys. Like, let's be honest. Like, there's no point in not making a deal for a guy like Nikola Vucevic. He's not going to cost too much. He's got another year of team control in 2025-26, and he's just this offensive spark at the center position I think the Golden State needs. Yeah, the defense would suffer, and you'd hate when he gets switched on to a high pick and roll, but hey, that's the nature of the game. You got to take what you got, and you got to deal with what you don't got. And unfortunately, Golden State doesn't have a lot of bucket getters right now. They need somebody who could fill it up in the cup. Next up, we got two more trade targets coming for you guys. You saw the player 3. There's 3 guys we're talking about on today's show, so we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform with over 10 million active members, including yours truly. And it's so fun, and so many people use it because you can win so much money watching your favorite sports in real time. You can win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. It's awesome because they're always trying to give you incredible deals as well, like $50 in your account for free when you place your first $5 entry and use our promo code CLNS. They got basketball, they got football, they got baseball when it comes around, they got hockey right now, they got esports, they literally have everything, college sports as well. You can find it on PrizePicks. And I'll give you guys a little bit of an example of what how I play PrizePicks this football Sunday. I have Patrick Mahomes more than 250.5 passing yards. I have Derrick Henry more than 96.5 rushing yards. And I have Josh Allen more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. The superstars come out to play when the lights are the brightest. That's what I decided to do on this PrizePicks. All you got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections and just pick more or less. It's that simple. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use that promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't even need to win to receive $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. All that information is clickable down in the comment section and description of today's video. Next trade target on tap, we got Jakob, the big man out of Toronto, costing $19.5 million. I failed to mention that earlier, is that all these players that we're talking about on today's show are incredibly possible to be acquired by just trading some of Golden State's kind of middle and expiring level contracts. Like, these guys are all very much attainable, in my opinion. And Jakob is that true 7-foot man in the middle that Golden State has been wanting, right? He's not going to necessarily space the floor in the way that Nikola Vucevic would, but man, he's going to play elite defense down low. He's going to get steals and blocks and create different possessions for a Golden State team that struggles to create turnovers at this point. He's going to fill it up around the rim. He's got great touch, got a good push shot, got a good back to the basket game turnaround, jump hook. Like, he can make all those plays in the post. Not necessarily going to be a jump shooter, but hey, he gets a ton of boards and he gets a ton of blocks as well. I mean, you see this on your screen. Like, he can absolutely be a defensive menace. He could be a guy who deters people from taking shots at the rim. Golden State allows a very high rim field goal percentage. He can grab a ton of rebounds like Nikola Vucevic does. However, the issue with Jakob Poeltl addition here is that Raptors probably don't really want to give him up. Like, he is one of the shining stars on this Toronto team. He's probably somebody you'd want to build around down there. And NBA insider Mark Stein, he said that the Raptors are, quote, only going to trade him on their terms. So what that means basically is that they'll have to receive a haul in return if they want to get big Jakob Poeltl. So what does a trade for him look like? Well, it's going to cost a little bit more than Nikola Vucevic, not only because he is a younger player than Vuce, but also because he is just that better anchor defensively than Nikola Vucevic would be. So I know you guys might not like this one, but this is the idea I saw on NBA Reddit. And you could say what you want about NBA Reddit. There's a lot of smart guys on that platform over there. They know what they're talking about. So Jakob Poeltl to the Golden State Warriors for Moses Moody, Kyle Anderson, a 2025 first-round pick, which it could be middle of the pack right now. It's probably judged at about like 15, 16 overall. And then the 2027 first-round pick swap. So that'll be the after the draft that follows Stephen Curry's last season on contract with Golden State. I don't know. I don't think this is necessarily a bad trade, but I don't necessarily think it's a great trade for a Golden State team that has already come out and say they don't want to send away massive amounts of assets, specifically draft assets, when trying to make an improvement to this roster. So I'm not sure that Golden State would do this. I'm not even sure that Toronto would do this, but this is an idea that I saw where the money would work. And you know what? Toronto probably doesn't want to win as many games as they're winning right now. They want to be closer and closer to that Cooper Flag sweepstakes. A team that doesn't want to be close to the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, but is circling around the interwebs, is Myles Turner being a trade target for your Golden State Warriors. Now, Turner is probably the best player of the three that you're looking at on screen right now. And, you know, I think he would be a magnificent addition to Golden State, man. Like, I think he'd be fantastic. He costs less than $20 million, easily attainable via salary that Golden State has on their books right now. But I'm not so sure that the Pacers would be looking to trade Myles Turner. He is on the final year of his contract, so he is due up for an extension this offseason. So maybe that's a reason that you know, Indiana would want to move off of this contract as of right now, because maybe they're not, you know, in line to want to pay Myles Turner big time, $30 million plus dollars annually. And maybe Golden State would have to do that, and maybe they wouldn't want to either. But hey, you can't deny what Myles Turner can do, man. A 38% three-point shooter, and he kind of is the best of both worlds when you're talking about Nikola Vucevic and Jakob Poeltl. Not going to be the glass cleaner that either of those two guys are, but is a big-time shot blocker and does space the floor for Indiana team that likes to get up and down and likes to put the ball in the cup at a higher rate. He's a big reason why, man. Myles Turner can attack. He can take you off the dribble a little bit. You know, he rises above the rim better than a lot of guys in this league, can create highlight plays down on the low block. Like, Myles Turner is a really, really good player, but I do think that this trade has the least likely chance of happening if you're a Golden State Warriors fan. I don't see why, especially when draft capital and young talent that has untapped potential would be the headliners in a deal like this. I'm not so sure that Indiana would want to make a hasty deal like that when they're competing for the playoffs. When they were just in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, I would assume that they would want to make, take one more run at winning the Eastern Conference and being in the NBA Finals with Turner in town, because their front court would become really thin without him as well. Clutch Points, Brett Siegel came up with this trade idea. So keep in mind, none of these trade ideas that we've come up with on today's show are from me. So you can be mad at these guys, not me. Myles Turner to the Warriors for Moses Moody, Kevon Looney, and a first-round pick. So you think about this, it's less than what Golden State would be giving up if they were to trade for Jakob Poeltl. But with Myles Turner only being on a one-year contract at this point, you have to be cautious with what you give up when the player can only be a 1 year, and in this case, a couple months rental. And like I said, Golden State would have to pay Turner this summer. And what would that contract look like? He's put up big-time numbers. He's performed in big-time games for Indiana. Would that cost $25, $30 million a year for Myles Turner? Is a possibility that it just might, with the way the contracts are flying around in today's NBA. So I'm not so sure that Golden State with Jonathan Kuminga be up for a contract, and they're gonna have the opportunity to match any deal that he gets. And Myles Turner, being $30 million around kind of guys, like I don't know if Golden State would want to pay either one of those cats. So this trade is why I think this one is the least likely option of happening. But hey, out of the trades that I've talked about today, let me know who you guys would take out of the 3. And keep in mind what you're going to have to give up to get one of these guys. Pick one to trade for. If it's Nikola Vucevic, type NV. If it's a Jakob Poeltl, type JP. And if it's Myles Turner, give me an MT down in the comment section. I'm trying to hear from Dub Nation on which center they want the most for Golden State. I say keep the first-round picks and give me Nikola Vucevic. He's probably the most offensively gifted center out of these 3. And you know what? He's the cheapest option for Golden State to go out and get. Plus, he's under team control for next season. Myles Turner, I just don't feel like getting in the weeds about like what you would pay him, and he would be demanding in free agency, and what Golden State would be giving up. Obviously, that first round pick could prove to be very, very valuable over the course of time. And when you rent Myles Turner for a couple of months and you don't really do anything with him, it's probably not very much worth it to make that trade, even though he is probably the best player of the 3. But hey, if you guys have another name, hit me up on Twitter. I'm trying to get build my following over there. So at Smitty at CS on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. And like I said before, make sure you are subscribed, because anything trade related about your Golden State Warriors will be covered right here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. So for daily news and rumors and maybe some live shows coming up here soon, make sure you hit that sub button. We'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.